So hello everyone, welcome to this week's YouTube tutorial. I know there wasn't one last week. I'm just heads down in a lot of paper writing, article writing, webinar deliveries, training, consulting, all of those kind of things. So you guys on YouTube unfortunately took a hit last week, but I'm back this week. And this week we're going to be talking about something that I'm building on that I talked about 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks ago. You can go and check it out. And I was talking about where are we going with our data. Anyway, I'm Mike Ingledew. I'm all about making you successful with your integrated product support strategies, whether that's standards, specification software, or just developing your skills. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have and just give you some insight into my 30 odd years of working in this domain and supporting organizations just like yours. So today I want to build on that IETP discussion that we started together a few weeks ago. And thank you to those of you who are sending in comments, questions about your specific viewers and your specific browsers and asking me questions about which ones are the best and that kind of stuff. I answer you as best as I can and as independently as I can. But this week I'm going to talk a little bit about technology pit stops. And if you've done any of my training consulting, you know that we talk about the life cycle of the technical publication through the life of a product. And we talk about the influences and the impacts on the technical publication, what changes, why it changes, and why we need to be aware of it. It's not like in the old days, we printed a loose leaf book and it was easy for us to maintain. Now we have many more challenges around just simple paper-based books that we can publish, distribute, and they're actually easier to look after. So again, not representing any particular product or platform here, but what we do need to be aware of is that data is changing and it's changing at a rapid rate. For example, this simple IETP that I have created behind me here is something that you could have created 4, 5, 6 years ago quite easily. And, you know, the technology that goes into this and the capability that goes into this is vastly different to anything that's on the shelf behind me here. So if anybody recognizes the computer, put a comment down below and let me know what the computer is. But all of this tech behind me, which is now just nothing more than a prop, apart from some of the camera gear, is just a prop for me, is still functional. It still works. But the typewriters from the 1950s, the phone and the computer in the middle there are from the 80s, and the ruggedized laptop, which is nestled away in the corner there, is only a few years old, but it's already now just a prop on my shelf. So you can see that the technology differences between the IETPs that I just shown you and the technology that's on the shelf behind me is massively different. Add that into the fact that our products are living a very, very long time. There are products in service now that came into service before I was a maintainer and have now spanned generations of operator and maintainer and look like they will continue to do so. So we need to have a vision of and a strategy for dealing with technological changes as we go through our product life cycle. A wise man once said to me, "We don't know what we don't know." And this is true. And you know, this is something that I also talk about on my training courses, because especially if I'm showing something like this, it tends to blow people away. But it's not groundbreaking technology. This is capability that's been around for a very long time. And we can use tools to create IETP solutions quite quickly and quite cost effectively. But it comes down to deployability, security, configurability, those kind of things that we need to be aware of which route we go down. And one of the things that these IETPs are really good for is short-term projects that don't have massive complex tech data needs. But then you can go out for more IETP solutions which are, you know, filtering applicability, encrypted, integrating with other environments, MMS, HMS, all of that stuff we've talked about already. I'm not going to go through that again. You can go find that here on the channel. But so we don't know what we don't know, but we also don't know what we don't know in terms of technological advancements. So, you know, we we know that this is possible, but only a few years ago, if we compare it to what's on the shelf, it absolutely wasn't possible. It wasn't even in our thought processes. We didn't even think that we could get out to that kind of capability. And that computer right now that's behind me, the old 1982's computer that's behind me, that was the first computer I learned how to program. And I plugged it into a TV the other day, which, by the way, it was hard first to find a TV to support it. I had to find a TV that supported it. And then I managed to get it up and running. And if you remember these computers, they actually load in the software via a cassette player, which I've got down on the shelf behind me as well. And it worked. It still worked, but it was slow. It was cumbersome. The graphics were terrible. But, you know, it was, for me, nostalgic, and it was a game. But, you know, the reality is that tech moves really, really quickly, and we need to have a vision of that as we move through. The way we communicate today is vastly, vastly different to the way that we communicate tomorrow, in 5 years, in 10 years. So the way that we manage, create, deploy, maintain, configure our content is going to change. And I'm going to talk about a hype curve on the next slide or two, and you know, where you can go and access that and look at what's happening in the market and what's coming around the market. You know, you've only got to look at things like these tablets. You know, a couple of years ago, people were all over them. Then we fell out of love with them, and now everybody has them. Everybody has a mobile device, a smart device. Everybody has these tablet devices. Everybody has the capability to create and deploy content in a really, really engaging and flexible way. So, you know, tablets came in, people didn't like them, they went away, and then they came back again. The same is if you look at things like our mobile devices right now. The screen real estate is not great when it comes to looking at technical content. So what have the tech companies done? They've come out with foldable devices, which is the same size of your handhold device, and they can fold out, and now you've got a large screen. Laptop developers have now gone from screens that go across, that they basically go down towards the keyboard too, maximizing the screen real estate. The technology is changing at a massive and rapid rate. And we'll talk about the Gartner hype curve here very, very shortly. So we have a long-term vision of our product, some of those products that are in service for a very, very long time, as I've said, and some of those products that will be around long after I retire. And we need to be aware of where our tech data is going and what's going to affect our tech data. So step in something here called the Gartner hype curve. Now, if you attended TDW Live a couple of years ago, I talk about the Gartner hype curve almost every year, and I talk about what's coming and what is currently, you know, in the trough of disillusionment. You can go figure out what that is, and then what's now becoming mainstream and what's being adopted. So there's a lot of things that they talk about I've taken all of this from their website, so you can go and grab this off the web link that I've put there. There is a newsletter you can sign up to, and you can get access to updates that they send out. But keep an eye on the Gartner hype curve. If you keep an eye on the Gartner hype curve, you can have a good feeling for what's actually coming our way in terms of what's becoming developed, what's becoming, they actually say where the investors are looking. And then it comes down the other side and enters the trough of disillusionment, where people think, well, actually, phase one of this product was rubbish, so we're not going to adopt it. And then it comes out and it goes into general adoption. So the example that I just used on those foldable devices, for example, we're now on the second or third generation of those foldable devices. We had the hype. So everybody was dead excited about them. And then what happens is, so the hype equals cost as well, right? So those foldable devices early doors were very, very expensive. And now they're coming down the other side. They went through the trough of disillusionment. We're now into kind of phase 2, phase 3 of these product developments, where early product development was there was a clear line down the screen when you unfolded it. Now the screen technology has advanced so much more that you can open it and you can't tell that there is a fold down the middle of the screen. It is now a full tablet that you can fold, shove it in your pocket, go out to the platform, open it up, open up your IETP, and away you go. These things are going to start affecting the way that we deploy tech data and the way that we deploy technical publications. So go check out the actual Gartner hype curve, and we need to be aware of where technology is going. So we have to have a strategy for how we are going to deal with this. Now, I'll come on to this on my last point, on my last slide, is that if we are, looking at our tech data today, as I've mentioned already, the way that we are producing, deploying, managing, maintaining our tech data today is not the way that we will be doing all of those things in 5, 10, 15 years time. So on longer projects, we need to have a vision of where tech is going. This is one way of doing it. And, or are we going to hold our platforms in an area where, the user is, whilst it might be nostalgically brilliant to open up a old computer like this or try and get this telephone to work, it doesn't make a tremendous amount of product support sense. So what we have to do is have a strategy for our data, and that is using open standards, open specifications, that then gives us a platform where we can then migrate to and away from legacy technology if and when the time allows us. This is one of the areas where we use and why we use structured data. And I'm not talking about any specific specification or standard. I'm just talking about structured data. Now, the question, of course, is the way that we produce data today is going to change through things like artificial intelligence, through the way that we can work with the connected platform in the future. Are we going to be so reliant on standards and specifications when it comes to tech data creation? The answer is probably not. Artificial intelligence is going to be able to go through lots of data lakes, lots of technical content, and bring it and present it to us in a way that is then palatable, like the tablets behind me. Or we are going to be able to integrate with the platform in slightly different ways. And, so the reality is that we might be using specification standards like DITA or S1000D or whichever way you're doing it today. Is that the way that we're going to be doing it in 5, 10, 15, 20 years time? Probably not. And so, we need to have a thought processes of how we're going to manage this and how we're going to look at it. So one of the things that I still find absolutely amazing, and as I kind of polish this one off and trying to keep it under the 15 minutes here, is that the amount of organizations that I go into and I talk to and I support who are maintaining legacy hardware, legacy operating systems, because their data is tied into an out-of-date software system or a software system that only works on a specific operating system or hardware. This particular product behind me, that nestled away in the corner there, that ruggedized laptop is actually based on Windows XP. And there are still some organizations out there that are having to maintain software products that run around on Windows XP, and because they've got no strategy for getting their data from one system, one bespoke system, to another system. I know that it's sometimes easier said than done, but this is why I say that, when we don't have a vision or a strategy for our data, and the external influences that will impact that data going forward on the longer life platforms and products, we could find ourselves in a little bit of hot water. We're already seeing, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to talk about spec chasing, and those that constantly are having to upgrade their S1000D versions, and why that's going to become unmanageable for some people and some projects. And they're going to trade off the technological adoptions to just stay at a version of S1000D. You know, we're already seeing augmented reality is affecting our technical publications. We're already seeing AI is something that we're going to see more and more now. Go and check out that Gartner curve. So let me know what your thoughts are on this and how you think technology is going to affect your technical documentation, your tech data, your technical information strategies. Do you have a strategy or a vision of the future? I know many organizations have innovation cells, and they have cells that are looking at where tech is going and what tech is doing. A big thing right now, digital twin, digital threads. You know, this is where a lot of people are spending a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy, making sure that they are in a position where they can adopt these technologies when they're ready for us to do so. So that was this week's tutorial. Let me know what you think. We have announced a whole bunch of new training courses and webinars that are coming up. I'll put down a link down below. You can go check that out. Be happy to have you along. Let me know what you thought today. Let me know what you thought that computer was behind me. And until next week, I don't know, we're going to try and stick on the IETP themes because you guys are sending me lots and lots of questions around IETPs. My opinion on certain IETPs. And, you know, I'm going to do a tutorial on that because some of you are sharing some of the IETPs with me. And I have to say that they look fresh out of the 1980s. And, you know, how can we integrate our IETPs? What kind of functionality should we be looking for? Those kind of things. There you go. I'm Michael Ingledew. I'm all about making you successful with your integrated product support strategies. Until next week, until the next one, stay safe. Speak to you soon. God, that was fucking painful. Finally got it.